Good evening, everybody. Myself, Dr. Janarthanan, Assistant Professor, Department of Forensic Medicine and Toxicology, Sri Lakshminarayana Institute of Medical Sciences of Pondicherry. I welcome you all for this wonderful session on exhumation. Exhumation. What is exhumation? Exhumation is nothing but digging out of the dead body, which is an already buried dead body from the ground. Okay, it is called exhumation. It is not like criminally, like I will be killing a person and burying him. It doesn't come under exhumation. Legal burial of a body and digging it out under suspicion, and it has certain rules and regulations to be followed before digging out a dead body from the ground, from the burial ground. We need certain officials to approve it. Before approval of the officials, it is not possible to dig out the dead body from the ground. Now this picture we are looking at a picture at a burial ground. See the video recording and the police people, an IPS officer, tahsildars, collectors, all these people, lot of group work is involved in this exhumation process. Okay, now let us go into the topic. Here we are seeing at a picture of a dead body. See the blue color cover here. Can you note it down? Here, this blue color cover is the dead body which has been buried already into the ground. And this is a graveyard. Okay, this is a graveyard where the body has been buried. Here around the people are looking at the exhumation procedure, but they are not allowed inside to get into the burial ground, because it is a procedure where we should not miss out any evidence. It is all very confidential, should be maintained very confidential. So this procedure should undergo under police personnel, IPS officers and special officers, video recording, and only the grave diggers. See these two people, they get inside the graveyard and they dig out the body. And after that, the role of the doctor. What is the role of the doctor in this? What is the role of the doctor in digging out the dead body, and what he is going to do? We are going to find evidence, whatever the evidence we get from the dead body which has been buried already. That is what some suspicion arises in the death of a person, and once again the buried dead body is digged out, and then we are conducting a post-mortem, re-post-mortem we are conducting. Sometimes re-post-mortem is conducted if difference of opinion occurs on the post-mortem report already which has been conducted on a dead body. Okay, when this is done, we conduct an exhumation. Here we will get into the topic. First thing is, see, the police people are also recording, the camera persons, the video camera persons, everybody is recording it. But see, few people are wearing masks. The smell, the decomposed body smell, the putrefaction is nothing but decomposition of body, and autolysis of the body happens for a dead body after, as soon as death occurs. Okay, when this death occurs, the dead body starts decomposing, and when it is buried to the ground, it's dirt like multiple times, twice the amount of the dead body exposed to the air, according to Casper's dictum. According to Casper's dictum, the dead body, when exposed to the soil, the decomposition happens twice the rate. Okay, twice the rate it happens than when it is exposed to air. So the smell, it's unbearable for common people, but for forensic experts, they would have been acclimatized. Acclimatized means they would have got it becomes usual thing for the doctors, the postmortem forensic experts. It becomes easier for them to bear the smell. So the doctors who go for postmortem examination of the exhumation dead body, they don't feel much of the smell. They'll feel the smell, but it sets them like they'll get it acclimatized to the situation of the smell within 2 to 3 minutes. And then the common people, they can't bear the smell. Okay. See, here are the police personnel, officials. The dead body has been digged out, and the Tahsildar, the collector, everybody is here. This is the dead body which has been digged out. See, it's filled with decomposition gases. As soon as the death occurs, when the death occurs, the body cells starts autolysis and putrefaction. Two processes which happen inside the dead body. The cells start decomposing. As soon as it start decomposing, it gets filled with gases, ammonia, carbon monoxide, lot of gases. These gases get filled inside the dead body and make it disfigured. The dead body becomes disfigured. See the disfiguration. You can't identify the person's face, or you can't identify who is this person except his clothings. From his clothings, the person can be identified if the attendant or the relatives or friends, whomever saw him, at last they can identify with their clothes what type of clothes he used to wear. From that you can come to a final conclusion that this is the person. Okay. Let's get into the topic. Today's topic is exhumation. Exhumation is nothing but an Latin word, ex, which means out of, humus means ground. Okay, so let it out of the ground. Let the dead body out of the ground. Exhumation, taking out the body and bringing it outside. Anything which is being digging out and taken out of ground, like example, jewelry. The pirates used to bury. Sorry, the pirates used to bury the jewelries, their whatever the treasure they find into the ground, and they used to set the map. From the east, you will find a palm tree. You will find a burial grave. This is how they used to keep some identification points for taking out the jewelry, draw the maps, route maps to the treasure, and they will pass it on to their next pirate group head. Okay, whomever they select. So exhumation means out of the ground. Next is exhumation. What is exhumation? Exhumation is nothing but the lawful disinterment or digging out of a body from a grave which has already been buried. It comes under the Criminal Procedure Code of 176 CRPC. It is a criminal code. So in India, 176 of Criminal Procedure Code CRPC defines the digging out of a dead body from its grave, from its official grave. The body is taken out from the official grave. Okay. But in other countries, the 176, the exhumation code might differ from country to country. Okay, we should note that it differs from country to country. Exhumation is rarely done in India because in our country, most of the bodies are disposed of by cremation, burning. We burn the dead body. Okay, the maximum population of India is of Hindu community. The Hindus usually burn the dead body according to their Hindu mythology. They burn their body, and the Christians and Muslims, they are of a minority population, and they will bury the dead body usually. Okay, they bury it. Usually they bury it, but in Hindu community they burn it mostly. So it is better to conduct an. It is difficult for in India. The exhumation procedure is conducted very less in India. Okay, not like other countries. What is exhumation and versus retrieval of a clandestinely buried body? Clandestinely buried body. Okay, exhumation must be differentiated clearly from the retrieval of a body, clandestinely buried body by the criminals. In the latter case, the body was never legally buried or inhumed in the first place. Retrieval of such a body is not exhumation. I've already told you that retrieval of a body which has got suspicion and somebody has buried it unofficially, unlegally, not as a legal procedure, like without a proper permission. If a body has been buried in a remote place, for example, in a forest area, few of people kill a person and bury them, and this burial doesn't come under. And when the police people dig out the dead body, when they dig it out, it doesn't come under exhumation. Exhumation is the legal procedure. It's a word, digging out of the dead body. It is a legal word in which we are coming under 176 CRPC. The dead body which has been buried already is digged out with legal proceedings with police officials, a tahsildar or a magistrate, a collector, an IAS officer who is an IAS officer, with the help of the grave diggers, and the photograph. The whole session should be videographed and photographed, and the boundaries, it has to be bound with restricted to be. It should be restricted with people, common people, other than the officials who can dig out the dead body. They only should be present. And the thing is, a doctor's duty. What is the doctor's duty in case of a digging out of our dead body? Okay, we should see that. We are going to the topic here. The objectives is, the first objective is identification of the dead body, identification of the grave. First, we should identify the grave. We should not mistakenly dig out the dead body of another person rather than the suspected dead body. Okay, we should dig it out, whichever the body we expect to dig out, and conduct a post-mortem examination. Okay, so we should identify the dead body which has been buried properly. We should identify it. Determine the cause and manner of death when foul play is suspected in cases like homicide and disputed case of death or poisoning. In case of a murder, what happens is, first the post-mortem has been conducted when a person dies and he has been buried. Once again, some of his friends or relatives or his own son, daughter, siblings, anybody makes a legal complaint, and the legal complaint states that we have suspicion of the death of that person. And when the suspicion is moved forward, the magistrate will announce for an exhumation, or when a post-mortem has been conducted and the post-mortem has opinion of difference, so again it goes for a re-post-mortem. So in that case, we have to dig out the dead body and we have to conduct an exhumation and a post-mortem examination of the dead body, autopsy examination. Once again, in case of that, we dig out the dead body, and two doctors, other than the first post-mortem examination which was conducted by a doctor, we should avoid him. And the other second re-post-mortem, when it goes to re-post-mortem, second post-mortem, another doctor will come into the picture, the second doctor, along with the supervision of the tahsildar or an IAS officer or a magistrate and an IPS officer or police people, and the cadre of sub-inspector, inspector, and a police constable. All these people are involved, and the area should be bound, as I've already told, restricted from people who are commoners, excluding the people who are related to the dead body and who are suspecting the suspicion on the death, and they are allowed. And with photographers, videographers, all they should be present, and the grave diggers. Other than these people, nobody should be there allowed into the premises of conducting post-mortem examination of an exhumed body. Next is recover some papers or documents or other evidential material buried with dead body. Okay, the papers or documents, whichever, like a suicide note, for example, a suicide note, or some evidences in case of some person has been murdered due to he has carried some valid evidence in case of some suspicious deaths. pen drives are also found inside the intestine or the stomach. Stomach contents will have a pen drive or any evidentiary materials into their hands and their pockets, dress, everything. Okay, it all should be recovered and it should be examined. Okay, and the second autopsy is nothing but when the first autopsy report is being challenged or is ambiguous. In case of first autopsy report is suspicious, so it goes for a second autopsy. So the body is exhumed and digged out and it goes for second autopsy. What are the rules? We will get to the rules. Coming to the rules, who all should be present in case of the exhumation? A district magistrate, a subdivisional magistrate, or an executive magistrate are empowered to order they're ordering the exhumation to be conducted. If a body is suspected to have some suspicion on it, it might be an homicide. So in these cases, or some evidences, a valid evidence is carried by the dead body, or due to some other reasons, lot of reasons are there, and due to these reasons, if somebody is arising a question, the body has to be examined and it has to be conducted a re-postmortem. In those cases, the body has to be examined again and it is digged out, and while digging out, it should be ordered by a powerful person, powerful law employee who is at the cadre of district magistrate or a subdivisional magistrate or an executive magistrate who are empowered to order. Okay, and the body is exhumed under the supervision of a magistrate, Tahsildar in most south of India, especially in south of India, it is done under the supervision of a Tahsildar in the presence of a doctor. A doctor should be there who has to, especially a forensic expert, who is a qualified MD in forensic medicine and toxicologist. He should be there to examine the body and he has to conduct the post-mortem examination. He has to examine the cloths, whatever the material he has, the dead body along with him. And the presence of a police officer is required for providing witness to the identity of the grave, the coffin, the dead body as well. Order carried out during the early morning times. Okay, we have to examine everything the dead body has. We have to see the organs, internal organs, the skin, any laceration, any wound, any contusion, any injury to the dead body, and we should get to the conclusion whether it is biasing to the first postmortem in case of second autopsy, the first postmortem examination which has been done clearly or not, everything to be answered in the court of law by when the autopsy is conducted for second time. Okay, on the same dead body, when it is conducted for the second time, when it is not biasing with the dead body, we should assure that it is not conducted for the second time. Okay, and then carried out during early morning times. Exhumation should be carried out not only during early morning times, it can be conducted if it's an emergency and if the suspicion has to be cleared out immediately. So in those cases, we have to complete the exhumation immediately and it should be processed immediately. Okay, it should be processed immediately. In those cases, there can be no delay, even it can be carried out in the night time inside India, but few countries restrict post-mortem exhumation conduction during the night times after 4 p.m. It cannot be conducted in some countries, but in India, it can be conducted during the after 4 p.m. after the working hours. Okay, in India, there is no time limit is fixed. Okay, autopsy may have to be done at the spot for which a tarpaulin screen may be erected around the grave or the skeleton, or the body may be shifted to a close by mortuary. Okay, usually what happens is we conduct the forensic expert people prefer to conduct the exhumation. They move a portable mortuary to the spot only. Okay, to the spot only they'll move the dead body. They conduct the examination in the spot only with raising a tent. We are raising a tent with the tarpaulin screen which is erected around the grave or by the body, or it may be shifted to a close by mortuary, but we prefer only a temporary tent, immediately conducting the post-mortem examination of the exhumed body, as it might bring or lose evidence. We might lose evidences, which we might lose some evidences when the body is getting transferred to somewhere nearby the mortuary. It is better to conduct an exhumation post-mortem on the spot only. Okay, and also the time, we should not delay the time, so it is better to conduct an exhumation dead body post-mortem examination on the spot only. Okay, and it is advisable to be conversant with the nature of the geological layout of the cemetery and directions of any water drainage. If a grave is waterlogged, samples of water should be collected. Yes, the samples should be collected. Everything, the graves, soil, and the water content, it has to be stored in a glass jar bottle, and it has to be sent for forensic science lab examination, whether these sand and the minerals present in the sand, the soil buried the dead body, where the body is buried, and the water, whether it is a dishwater, like it is a wastewater, or it's a fresh water which contains a lot of minerals and which might react, whether it will react with the dead body's condition or some poison. If the person has been given some poison, whether it is reacting with the poisonous substances in the body, all those things should be clarified with the forensic science lab report. It is of a different sector. Forensic science lab, it doesn't come under the doctors who conduct the post-mortem examination of the dead body, so it comes under a different discipline. So it should be but it is the collection of samples of the sand, the soil where the dead body is buried, and the water, it should be sent to the FSL under the supervision of the doctor also, and also the police personnel, the magistrate. Everybody should be the sample should be collected in all these people's presence. Okay, everything should be recorded under the video. And identification and opening of the grave. Identification and opening of the grave. Here what we do is, the identified grave should be then dug carefully to avoid damages to the coffin and its contents. Notes should be made out about the condition of the soil, water contents, and nature of vegetation. Okay, the identified grave should be then dug carefully to avoid damages to the coffin and its contents. The grave, the coffin should be dug out without damaging the coffin, because we might lose some evidence, some materials which are present on the dead body, we might lose it. So it should be handled with care. At least minimum 4 people should carry the coffin, so that the grave diggers, they can lift it easily. It should be lifted easily to avoid damages to the coffin. Note should be made about the condition of the soil, water contents, and nature of vegetation. And the trees, whichever the plants or trees which are growing around it, should be noted, and all these things should be recorded in a paper. Whatever the trees, whatever the vegetation, whatever the soil, whether it is a clay soil or a sandy soil or a mud soil, red soil, whatever the soil, and the water content, as I told you already, wastewater or a drinking water or a corporation's water, any pipeline moving under the dead body's grave coffin. Okay, all these things should be noted, and we should be collecting all the samples in the glass jar. Next is the, in suspected case of mineral poison, around 500 grams of sample of earth is actual contact should be taken, and control samples of the coffin on the sand on the coffins should be taken, 500 grams. It should be contained in the glass jar. Everything should be photographed and the videograph should be taken. Complete recording of the everything should be taken. In case of custodial death also, it is done under the camera. Everything should be done under the camera. A drawing of the grave and body or skeleton should be made, noting all the details. Everything should be recorded. In case of bodies which has been underground for a sufficiently longer time, undergone putrefaction, an attempt should be made to determine the identity, especially the sex, whether it is a male or a female. See, here we can identify it's a male from the clothings. From the clothings only we can identify it's a male dead body. But after some time, when the cloths are not present, we can't identify whether it is a male or female, as the figure is completely disfigured. The face, the genitals, everything will be disfigured. In that case, it is difficult to confirm the sex of the gender. The gender determination becomes very difficult, and the stature, the height of the stature definitely will alter. If a person is of 150 centimeters, he'll become around 155 to 156 centimeters, 158 centimeters, 160 centimeters. Okay, there will be variation in the length of the dead body as the joints, the vertebral columns, the muscles, everything distance due to decomposition gases. It is distended. The body becomes distended and it becomes in length. The body becomes, dead body becomes lengthy, and the marks of identification, if possible to identify, like tattoo marks, moles can't be identified because it's superficial layer. It lies on the superficial layer of the skin. As the body becomes darkened, in those cases we can't identify whether to see a mole. It is difficult to see a mole. And other than that, any identification marks like the fingerprints can be taken. The fingerprints can be taken even from a decomposed body, putrefied body, because the fingerprints, they are made from the ridges of the fingers, especially the fingers. The fingers will have their dermis with the ridges. From that also we can take the identification mark of a fingerprint. Dactylography, the study of fingerprints is called dactylography. And from this dactylography, there are a lot of identification marks. Only the identification mark, the only unique identification mark is a fingerprint of a person. Next is the disinfectant should not be sprinkled on the body, as it can react with the chemicals in the disinfectant might react with the poisons. If the person has consumed some poison, if he has been poisoned, so it can react with the disinfectants. What happens? The grave diggers, due to unbearable smell, the decomposed smell, the odor, which is a very bad odor. In those cases, the disinfectants are sprayed by the grave diggers. So this should be avoided in case if the poison suspected case are exhumed. So disinfectant should not be sprinkled, or any scent or perfume, it should be avoided. If decomposition is not advanced, a plank or plastic sheet should be made to spread under the body, and the body be gently shifted onto the plank or sheet and then removed from the grave. Okay, it should be removed carefully, as we should not miss out any evidences. And also, after shifting the body, we should examine the burial ground for any evidence of any material. Okay, the letters, the whatever the evidence, like some any dagger, all those things, any guns, whichever present in the dead body, if it's left out in the ground, we should search for it also. And then if skeletonization is advanced, then it may become necessary to dig out bedside and beneath the body, and the skeleton, including some soil from beneath and side, be lifted on some plank or sheet or to a mortuary. Okay. The last organ to putrefy is virgin's uterus or prostate of a male. Okay. A prostate or a virgin uterus is the last organ to decompose. After this decomposition happened, the body becomes skeletonized. You can see skeletonization of a dead body. See, This is at the initial stage of skeletonization. The eyeballs, see the baldness of the head. You can see the skin completely veined out. The nostrils are, you can see it. The beard, I think it will fall out in a few more days, and the decomposition will be fastened. After fastening, complete skeletonization, only the skeletal remains. You can see the skull, all those things, the bones you can collect it. So in these cases, we have to collect the complete dead body carefully on a sheet and then into the temporary mortuary, the tarpaulin cover sheet tent. There, the exhumation should be, the autopsy should be conducted. See the glass jars, 8 glass jars are taken, and the soils around from all the directions of the dead body, it should be taken, and it should be properly packed in a glass bottle, sealed with the sample seal, of the doctor. It should be sealed and then labeled. The so and so person, if it's an unknown body, we should mention it as unknown body. Exhumation number we have to mention. The crime number we have to mention. Whatever it is, complete detail of the person has to be mentioned. Of the complete details of the exhumation should be mentioned over the glass jar on all the bottles. Okay. 2 jars containing soil from about 25 yards away from the ground also is taken. Okay. Sample for control, we should take the sample of the water body which is going around the burial, the graveyard, and also the soil should be taken for consideration. Control has to be taken for control. Hairs, the hairs are giving an important identification as it contains lot of DNA material if it is found along with the bulb of the hair's bulb. If it is found, the complete hair is sufficient. The hair samples will undergo putrefaction. It doesn't putrefy. It has lot of DNA materials, and if a tooth, especially a third molar of the upper maxillary third molar, if we get it, it will have a lot of pulp which is of big DNA content that is sufficient, more than sufficient to identify the dead person. So in those cases, hair sample and the third molar are collected on a body, should be preserved in a dry, clean glass bottle for subsequent identification and chemical analysis. It should be sent to the FSL because we can't identify, the doctors can't identify in their own colleges or the mortuary region where the government hospital or a private hospital, wherever the mortuary is conducted, wherever the postmortem is conducted, it is impossible to do it. The DNA analysis it has to be sent to the FSL through the proper channel of police people. It has to be sent, packed, sealed, labeled, and sent to the forensic science laboratory, whichever the concerned hospital or the doctor belongs to, through them. And a search should be also be made for recent or old injuries such as fractures. In case of exhumed bodies, some unidentified bodies, what happens is when a missing complaint is given, they'll mention this person has had a fracture in his left leg or any of these limbs, and that will be identified. If that is identified on the body, it will be a very valuable, useful content for the body who are digging it and exhuming it and conducting a postmortem on it. So we can identify and we can come to a conclusion of the identification of the body. All the cavities should be examined. As many viscera can be obtained, should be preserved. In case of suspected mineral poisoning such as arsenic, antimony, hair, nails, long bones should be preserved. And like all the cavities should be examined. In case of suspected mineral poisoning, what happens is, especially in case of arsenic and antimony, the hairs and nail will contain the poison. If it's given, the long bones will have lot of poisons like it gets absorbed in them, and they are examined for FSL examination. It is also packed, sealed, and labeled and sent through police proper channel. What happens is, after sending it to the FSL, these people, they will take the bones, boil it for 6 to 12 hours. boil it in hot water for 6 to 12 hours, and so the bones can be crushed easily. And while crushing these bones, it becomes difficult when it is unboiled. When it is crushed easily, it can be sent for a chemical analytic examination. Whichever the poison, it can be shortlisted, especially if it's antimony and arsenic. The arsenic poisoning is the main. It can be identified from the bones and fingernail clippings, and also the nails in case of rape or any assault cases. The nail clippings are of primary evidence, like lot of evidentiary materials can be obtained from the nail clippings, because the DNA material of the person who has attempted to rape a female, or a sodomy in case of a sodomy in case of a gay partners. In those cases, what they'll do, the nail clippings, they will definitely, not definitely, but still it is possible that in case of rape, the nail clippings are very, very important, which contains the contain the nail clippings will contain the accused person's DNA material. If the skin of the accused person is scraped through the nail clippings from the nails, clipped nails will have lot of DNA material of the accused. Long person, the long bone should be preserved in case of arsenic and antimony cases. Then the limitation for exhumation in India and England, there is no time limit. There is no time limit for the exhumation, conducting exhumation. Okay, but in England, there is no time limit in India and England, because we conduct the exhumation. In France, there is time limit for 10 years, and Germany 30 years. Okay, in France there is limit of time limit of 10 years, and in Germany it is 30 years. After that, the exhumation, it should not be conducted legally. So it shows from country to country the legal procedures differ while conducting the exhumation. Exhumed bones, if only bones are recovered in exhumation, as in very old graves, the bones must be boiled before examination. It is a process called maceration, which I have mentioned already. Maceration by this process may reveal diagnosis which is not available otherwise by ordinary examination. Maceration by this process is recommended not only in medical legal autopsies, but also in historical material. Okay, also in historical material. Thank you for listening with patience. We'll have a review of whatever we have seen. This is a place where the body has been buried, and the dead body is being dug out for exhumation. This is how the police personnel, an IPS officer, a police officer, a tahsildar or a magistrate is with a video recording. Everything should be recorded, as I mentioned already. Everything should be recorded in camera. It should be submitted to the judge in front of the Honorable Court of Law. Everything should be recorded. This is an exhumed body where it has undergone decomposition changes, putrefaction changes. The body is completely disfigured and totally distended with gas, autolyzed gas. See, this flexion is due to distension of the gas. Disfiguration is due to the extension of the gas. Exhumation is nothing but digging out the dead body out of the ground. Exhumation is a Latin word. Literally, it means out of the ground. Anything out of the ground. Example, the treasure by the pirates. Exhumation. Definition, coming to the definition, it is the lawful digging out of a body, disinterment of a body from a grave which has already been buried, according to 176 of the Criminal Procedure Code. But it varies to country, rarely done in India, because burning is the probable procedure done in India. Exhumation versus retrieval of a clandestinely buried body. Objective is to take out the body. Identification is the primary reason we do it. Identification of the grave is very, very important. We should not dig out the dead body. This is of a wrong identity. Determine the cause and manner of death. For that reason, secondary reason, we dig out the body. What is the reason the person has been killed, or it is a murder, or it is the person has been poisoned? Some suspicion, some dispute of the death occurs. We have to dig out the dead body by lawful authorization. Recover some papers or documents or other evidential material buried, and then second autopsy. In case of a postmortem has been challenged, the first postmortem examination has been challenged. Rules are made by the district magistrate, the subdivisional magistrate, the executive magistrate are empowered to order an exhumation. Only these people can give orders. What is exhumed under the supervision of a magistrate in India, especially the Tahsildar, the police personnel, IPS officers, the magistrate, the collectors, they can have the power. It is done in India like early in the morning. We prefer early in the morning times, but in India, anytime the exhumation can be conducted. But in some other countries, some Western countries, it is denied. And some in few countries, like the Arabian countries, like the Gulf countries and the United Arab Emirate countries, few other Muslim related countries, they prohibit, they don't allow exhumation at all. Autopsy may have to be done at the spot for a tarpaulin screen. A tent will be made. The grave is digged out and the samples are collected. In suspected case of mineral poisoning, about 500 grams of sample of earth is actual contact with the coffin should be collected, preserved in a trichlene glass bottle. Around 10 bottles should be taken. Photography is very, very important. Photography, sketching of the whatever we get evidence, whatever the procedure which is going on in the exhumation process, it should be drawn, it should be recorded in writing, everything should be noted. And the two videographers, it should be recording completely the exhumation procedure. Everything in the video should be covered, including the doctor, the exhumation procedure completely under the camera, the Tahsildar who all came into the picture, they all to be videographed, and the boundary, it should be bound. No common people should be allowed. Next is the identity. We should be probably identifying the gender, the sex, whether it is a male or a female. Who is the person? The person is really the person which we are going to exhume, or we should make a confirmation of the dead body. Who is the stature, height of the person, the marks of identification, the tattoo marks, the fingerprints. We should gather everything if possible. And then disinfectant should not be sprayed, which is important because it can alter the chemical analysis process. The bones, if skeletonized, we should send it for maceration process. It should be collected in 8 glass jar bottles. The hair samples, which gives a prime DNA substance, and the third molar of the upper third molar of the maxillary cavity, it can be collected for DNA, and the recent or old injuries or any fractures for identification. And all the cavities should be examined, if anything, for evidence of pen drives, especially the pen drives. Any evidentiary material has been swallowed, anything we have to examine. Poison, in case of antimony and arsenic poisoning, we should collect the hairs and nail samples, nail clippings. Long bone should be preserved. It can be boiled and then macerated. It can be sent for chemical analysis of arsenic and antimony. And the hairs, the nail clippings can also have some semen. The pubic hair will have semen in case of rape of the accused. The nail clippings will have the accused DNA material sometimes. They have to be preserved and packed and labeled and sealed. In India, there is no time limit for exhumation, for disinterment of body, for taking of the dead body. In France, it is 10 years, and in Germany, it is 30 years. Maceration, the process to 6 to 12 hours, the bone is boiled, and then it is sent for chemical examination. Thank you.